And so we're back. We have to do the discussions, and this morning we have the Member of Parliament for Banda constituency, but also a Deputy Minority Chief Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim. My good friend, good morning to you.
Morning.
How are the cashew nuts in your constituency? I know you're a big farmer in that.
Thank you very much, Roland. But if I don't take care, you tempt me not to even greet man.
Okay. Okay.
Let me say a very good morning to our cherished viewers. It's been a long time since I came to your program.
Well, thank you very much. And Daniel Ochem Abuaji, I have two great friends in the studio today. Member of Parliament for Bantama constituency, and he's a great entrepreneur as well, I should tell you. Bantama is a hot seat, but Charlie, this man, cherish him constituents. And thanks for joining me, my good friend.
Thank you, Roland.
All right, so we have great discussions this morning. We know that the most topical of the issues will always be there. The minority, they held a press conference yesterday, and well, that was before, apparently, the minister held his own press conference.
Yes.
We'll take some submissions from the minister,
okay,
and then we'll come back and do some discussions on that.
No
so
problem.
we take the minister's submissions on the press conference put together by the Minister of Energy, Boaching Ejako, and this is it.
The Energy Minister told journalists that though there have been suggestions that the Managing Director of BOST deliberately caused the contamination so he could benefit from it subsequently, a cursory look at the dates the incident happened showed that the MD had not assumed office.
The contamination of the 5 million litres occurred on January the 18th. This was before the current BOST MD assumed office. BOST, as a matter of practice, has sold contaminated products as far back as 2014. BOST received expressions of interest for the purchase of contaminated products from 15 companies, and Movenpina offered the highest price of 1 cedi 30 pesos, which formed the basis for the selection. This is the highest price ever offered for contaminated products. 8, it is not the case that the MD of BOST owns the company that bought the products. And 9, it is also not true that the address of or phone number of Movenpina is the same as that of the BOST MD.
He however made some recommendations on how future disposals of contaminated fuel should be handled.
Review and introduce new regulations on the sale and discharge of contaminated products. B, codify and publish widely a competitive tender process based on transparent advertisement for the sale of products that have become contaminated. C, register and certify only corporate entities that will be designated to buy contaminated products directly from BOST. No unlicensed company, individual, or union member can trade in contaminated products henceforth.
The committee set up to prevent a contamination of fuel at BOST is headed by the head of chemical engineering at KNUST, Dr. Lawrence Dakwa.
The ministry is therefore asking Dr. Lawrence Dakwa, head of the chemical engineering department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, an acknowledged expert in the field, to lead the committee to consult all relevant stakeholders to review the entire operations of BOST in order to prevent future contamination of products.
One interesting point that came out from this is, what do we make of the committee, the 8-member committee that the same ministry set up to look into the BOST contaminated fuel sale? And his response to this question is that, to a very large extent, the functions of the committee, the terms of reference that were assigned this committee, have not dissolved. It hasn't changed.
This committee still remains valid. Circumstances that created the off-spec products, review of procedures to evacuate products. We are not looking at the specific transaction and the allegations therefrom. Where is the cover-up? We have, for example, on the allegations that were put forth, we have provided evidence. We have the list of all the companies, the 49 companies and individuals that traded off specs, right? It's a fact. We've put that matter out. We've put the articles of incorporation of the traders also in the public domain. When the matter came up, if there was going to be a cover-up, then there would have been an orchestrated response so that all the agencies would have been singing the same tune. But in the immediate aftermath of the event, you could see that MPA was saying something, this one was saying something, not coherent. We suggest to you that each independent agency was doing its own independent work.
And that's the Minister of Energy, Boakye Ejakun. And I have to start with you, Daniel Ochimma-Boakye. What do you make of all this that has been going on till now, culminating the press conference by the Minister of Energy?
Well, let me just say good morning to your cherished viewers, and good morning to you as well.
As well as your constituents.
Of course, Bantima constituency. I just want to say good morning to everybody that is watching from my constituency, Bantima. I think this should put the issue to bed. Our friends in the opposition have decided to distract what is possible under the new government. And this is one of the attempts that they are trying to use to distract, just to take the focus of what the government wants to do to build this country. Now, if you look in the past, some of the articles I've read online, my Joy Online and stuff like that, in 2015, they sold about 8 million contaminated fuel. In 2016, about 12 million. And the similar processes on licensed companies, about 39 or so companies were all participating. So what is going to happen, and I'm telling you, is that we are trying to take measures and policies to try to resolve this issue. And the way you can see the way the minister was addressing the issue. Now, if you're a winning member, you can buy it again. If you are, what do you call it? If you are not licensed, you can buy it. And we have to advertise, open tender, make it transparent. Everybody is going to see how things work. So what is going to happen is that the more our friends in NDC continue to expose or talk about these things, the more they expose themselves.
Why would you say that?
Because they've been doing this also in the last 8 years. Several liters of
So you're saying rather it's the newly appointed MD that you brought into office who wanted to put a stop to some of these things?
Exactly. And of course, if you look at the bid, the highest bidder won the contract, 1.3. And according to the minister, they have never sold anything like this price before. So what are they talking about? But I'm happy. I'm happy because this investigation that was done by BNI and the National Security should put this issue to bed. But if the opposition, NDC, wants to continue, they can do that. Let them bring it on. Because what is going to happen is that you're going to end up fishing all those things where you involved in the past and look into those things. What happened? Were they fair? So you are basically living a place where if you don't take care, then you're going to open up dead wounds and it's going to affect you. So I believe that they should pick up lessons from this. The issue has been brought to bed. The CEO has nothing to do. The boss, Alfred, has nothing to do with the issue. He came, he met it, he gave value for money. So what is all this, excuse my language, noise about? Stop it. It's unnecessary. so that we can focus on what we need to do to run the country. But I'm glad because it is exposing the weaknesses in the system that needs to be addressed. I think they're going to find out what the process should be. In fact, what are the causes? Why are we having so many liters, millions liters in liters of contaminated food? Why? Why can't we stop it? So that people don't take advantage. Is this something that people try to create just to, milk something cash off somewhere? No, no, no. This is not acceptable. We must take preventative measures to stop this from happening. And if it does happen, then we have to make sure that the process for disposing it off, for selling it, is transparent, is open to everybody that is licensed to acquire it. And then, so be it. Yes.
Ahmed, what do you make of this also? Because I know that the minority had been making great statements, but also we've had the individuals, for example, a deputy ranking member of the finance committee, somebody who was a vice chair of the committee, Adam Mutawakilu, had made comments. He's a member for Damango, had great insight into the industry, had made great comments on the subject as well. Very much displeased.
Thank you very much, my good brother. Roland, I'm very sad this morning.
Somebody died?
This is more than death, because Ghana is bleeding and people are being hurt. I'm saying this because if you look at this scandal we are talking about, the sale of 5 million liters of oil, be it contaminated or not contaminated. One, what led to the contamination? Two, what led to the disposal? Three, has it been disposed of? Four, or it is still sitting there? Because we are getting conflicting information. Some say, oh, it has not been disposed of. It is there. We went to BOST and we saw it in containers. Ever since the press conference was organized, such things kept on coming. So to be able to address Ghanaians, to let Ghanaians know the full facts, all those informations must be given out. Then you leave that one aside. Roland, you see, politicians are always at the mercy of certain cabal or cartel, be it which form you want, which name you want to call it.
How do you mean?
I'm saying this because myself and my brother, we are here to defend or to explain this.
You're not defending. You're giving your views on the subject.
He is defending, saying that the minority.
But that's just his view on the subject.
That precisely. But he did not have privy. He was not privy to some of the things that happened. And neither was he privy to even the press conference yesterday, nor the events that led to all those kind of things. So you raise questions, and the question still keeps on hanging. That's why we in minority had the press conference. That led to the minister coming the following day to set a committee. Ministerial committee. A ministerial committee, when you constitute ministerial committee to go and carry on investigation, they take the law alongside the agency they are investigating. And clearly, if you go to the MPA Act, you will clearly get to know that the avenues for disposal of all those things, or contamination or treatment, they have three options. You can either correct it. If corrective measures are not being able to be done, there are other things that you need to do. Were they done? The ministerial committee will reveal this. Three, the ministerial committee you set up a committee as a minister for energy. Your committee is at work. You've given them timeline. They've not finished, and you go and take somebody investigations, and you are preempting what you expect your committee to bring out with.
But that committee has been dissolved, hasn't it?
It has not been dissolved.
It asked to be dissolved.
We heard of, you see, yesterday we had the minority leader did the press conference before the Minister for Energy came in.
Yes.
There was a serious turf war at the Minister of Energy, which the minister even threatened to resign. We know some of those things. That he was asked to dissolve that ministerial committee. He said no. That is why the minority leader came in, to throw up the signal that, look, we've heard of people calling, calling on the Minister for Energy to dissolve the ministerial committee. Because the ministerial committee was going to indict certain personalities because they were saying that, oh, we are opting for what is the acceptable practice and not what the law that former President Kufuor enacted. It is brought to Parliament, and that was enacted in 2004, the National Petroleum Act. So if the ministerial committee is to go ahead and then get to know that National Petroleum Authority is the law.
The ministerial committee has been dissolved. Now we have a ministerial committee that is going to investigate why we have contamination. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you see, Roland, we are politicians. Parliament was charged to enact a law. That is our constitutional mandate. Parliament did and gave it. National Petroleum, in the case of contamination of fuel, this is what you have to do. 1, 2, 3. The law is there. Then you put the law aside. Then you say that there's contamination and this the acceptable practice that have come to met. This is how things should go. Roland, there's absolutely something wrong. There's negligence of not operating, using the law.
Well,
then you are confronted and say, oh, my brothers in NDC did that. And if you look at the contamination of oil that happened from 2014 to 2015, 2016, 2014 this is the quantity, 2015 is the quantity, 2016 is the
but that's true.
Then I cannot confirm because there has not been a ministerial committee report that I said that should be formed.
But the minister is telling you that.
We are constituting a committee to go and investigate you. Then you are bringing your figures. And you want us to believe, to take your figures by hook and sinker. Okay. Roland is absolutely...
Just like the way you get your info.
It's not workable.
Have you
the best option would be a bipartisan parliamentary inquiry. We knew they would not go for that. We said, you set up your committee. They set up the ministerial committee. You see, Ghana has become to a point whereby wherever you have NDC, you have MPP person there. So covering up certain information always becomes difficult unless you do what MPP has done. You set up a committee at the taxpayers' expense. The committee has been charged. They've started their work. They do it. Then all of a sudden, you create certain conclusion. And when the committee to take that, say, oh, the committee is hereby dissolved. Roland, it's absolutely unacceptable. Then you come to the substantive issue of contamination. Roland, do you remember we voted in 2016?
Yes, we did. Well, sure.
Do you remember we were tagged as corrupt, NDC is corrupt, NDC is sat down so bad. They mentioned all those things against us. You remember?
Yes, it was a campaign.
Ghanaians accepted that one and voted for change. We are in opposition. Whatever for between, we are here to take our lessons. Then you have come within half a year. You are overspeeding on the path of corruption. We call you even, you are not listening to us. We shout, you are not even paying attention to us. Then when you come, you say, oh, NDC was more, NDC this, son of this corrupt act. So if NDC contaminated 8 million liters of oil for a whole year and sold, half year you have to contaminate 5 million and sell? Are we being fair to the people who voted for us? Are we on the corruption race, competition, MPP, NDC, competing on who is most corrupt? Is that what Ghanaians voted for in 2016? Absolutely no. We must take lessons and do what is right and do away with what is wrong. If contamination happened there, were you sleeping on your right? If you were a minority, you are today because you have stolen, we've caught you. You say, oh, you stole yesterday. What were you? Where were you? Okay.
But we do understand.
Where were the opposition? No, you did it yesterday.
You
did that as it may. We did it yesterday. We did it last year. Because you wanted to come to power and do something. That's why you kept quiet. Is that what you are telling me?
For this very incident, we know that the incident happened before the newly appointed MD came into office.
That's exactly what I was going to tell you.
That is what?
No, that's what listen,
Ahmed,
MPP, we are
I think we need some coffee or cocoa in
the
studio.
MPP, we are not in any way or form going to try to equalize what NDC did. Else, we will not last. We are smart enough to know that we are not going to repeat the mistakes of the past.
And that is why?
Mismanagement, corruption, and incompetence. We're not going to do those things. I'm glad you raised this. This issue happened, this contamination happened under your watch. All we are trying to do is to get value for money, sell it, and of course, get the money back. We are not trying to equalize. We are not corrupt. We are not going to corrupt ourselves just like you did. You mentioned all those things. Now you are sitting here talking because of your position as if we are corrupting ourselves. No, we won't do it. We are not going to do it. We'll be honest with the Ghanaians. We'll tell them the truth. We'll make sure that whatever you did, we'll point it out. But the attempt is not to try to equalize. Don't go there. Because whatever you did in the last 8 years, right, up until 2016, it's still, the tag is still with you. We know what you're capable of doing. This is not about NDC, MPP issue. This is about a national issue. If you look at what we are trying to do, we are trying to move forward. How do we prevent this from happening again? How do we make sure that people that are members or union members don't get the opportunity to, buy these things because they could create it?
Because in the past, that was what was happening.
Yes, that's what was happening. How do we make sure that if it happens, whatever reason it is, we are able to advertise, people can actually bid for it, and people, these are licensed organizations. So we are not trying to stay or be like NDC. It would be wrong for us to do that. We are trying to move the country forward.
Mr. Chamba, there's something that comes to mind. How come that the minister put together a committee? The committee ideally was supposed to have undertaken some investigations. And then now we're told that the BNI and the national security apparently had also undertaken some quasi-investigations, and so have even put forward their report, which has now been made public by the minister in summary.
Sure.
Even before a ministerial committee that was set up even started off the ground.
Okay.
It gives a semblance to the Ghanaian public of perhaps either one, lack of communication or some indecision somewhere.
Well, if the BNI and the national security has intervened to do the investigation ahead of the committee that has already been formed, and they are recommending that the ministerial committee be stopped, I don't see anything wrong with it.
You don't?
I don't. In one way, I don't. Okay. The other way may be, because I think if the scope of the assignment is the same, it is even better for an independent organization or department to come in than it is for the ministry to do the investigation by itself. If the scope of work, assignment is the same, why do we have to waste taxpayers' money? So to the extent that it's going to duplicate effort, we should save the national purse. However, if there's additional work that needs to be done, then the committee can continue. This is at the prerogative of the minister.
And that's what the minister has announced.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a committee
yes.
Led by one Dr. Lawrence Dakwa. He's the head of chemical engineering at the KNUST.
Yeah.
He's been tasked to review operations of BOST in a bid to prevent future contamination.
So basically, the scope of the assignment is switching. Just to continue what they have done, based on the recommendation of BNI and the national security, and to move the country forward. But if they are going to do the same thing, then there's no value for money. It's duplication of effort. It's inefficiency. It's mismanagement.
And that's why you support the BNI
to the
and national security.
extent that the scope are different, I think the ministerial committee should continue to do what they are doing. However, to the extent that they are the same scope, trying to find out what it is better for an organization that is outside the ministry to come in and investigate and make recommendations. What is wrong with that? So I think we should just make sure that we are not duplicating efforts to waste.
But let me quote the minority leader for you. He said the mere selling of contaminated oil matter to motorists. The mere admission of the regulator, that is the MPA, to the extent that they were unaware and they had not licensed a particular entity, also raises major issues as to which entity, registered or not registered, that the state should be dealing with. The BNI should have come would have to come public to share with Ghanaians what they have investigated and what their findings are, not just a mere statement to the fact that the minister should dissolve the committee.
Well, whatever the opposition is saying, if you say they should dissolve or they should not dissolve, I think the issue boils on whether the scope is the same, to me, and whether if it is going to be duplication of effort. If it is, then it is better for them to stop. But if it is different, or if the scope is changing for continuity and for forward movement, then I think the minister should continue to take
Initially,
measures.
when the minority raised issues, they said that the president forthwith, through the energy minister, through these, because of the concern they had raised, should have perhaps let the managing director sit aside for these investigations to continue.
Well, I didn't agree to that fact.
Okay.
Because
the managing director has not been found to have done wrong?
No, anything wrong. I mean, he met this situation. He gave the offer to the highest bidder. The licenses or not licenses, I mean, whoever bought it, was a practice. It's a convention, customs and convention that happens in the department. Right? And he was caught in it.
But as a new MD, you should be in a position to know what is right and forthright.
Nobody's doubting that. It is important that he knows all those things. He has to ask and find out what is the practice over here. I'm new. I'm only probably 4 or 5
So you're saying that he
months.
just followed the institutional practice?
He can do that, except this is a CEO who I understand has stopped a project that was being offered about almost 30-something million, 39 million, and told the constructor that the person that's going to do the construction that I am not going to pay this much, and it came down as low as what? About 20 million or so, a building or whatever that he's doing. So he's not out there to basically create inefficiency or create loot and share as it used to happen under our friends, the NDC administration. That's not what he's trying to do. After all, he saved Ghana money over $90 million, if that incident is true. So he's, as much as he's there, he's met this situation, he's given to the highest bidder in the history, in recent times. That is the highest price a letter has been sold, 1.3 pesos. I mean, Ghana cedis, right? 1.3 Ghana cedis. So he's basically looking for value for money. And if he goes and he makes a mistake, assuming he made a mistake, he can be corrected and move forward. So why do you want him to step aside? For what? What is it going to influence? He has a minister.
It's just the usual politics,
Roland,
somebody will say.
Roland,
it's convenient for the minority to be already blowing the horns at the Akufo-Addo-led administration because they had tagged the NDC-led administration in the recent past that they were one corrupt and
Roland,
they didn't undertake due diligence in the award of contracts, etc.
Roland, let me tell you.
You're playing to the public gallery.
There is a saying that he who preaches equity must come with clean hands.
Yes.
So Ghanaians, including the minority, including you and my brother, expected the Akufo-Addo administration to come with a clean hands and be a corrupt-free government.
It is.
If
well, they've not been tagged to be corrupt.
Yes, it is.
Roland, what are you telling me?
By what
What do you know? What is the evidence?
My brother just enumerated a lot of acronyms, incompetence. What is it? No, when you were talking, I didn't talk. I gave you that respect. Not that everything that you said was right, but I wanted to respect the audience and respect you as well.
Okay, no,
but let me tell you, how do you define incompetence? A minister and a whole government, the national security apparatus is under your custody. You set up a ministerial committee without knowing that there is a body undertaking that investigation, and you call yourself competent. That aside, if the minister did know or the government did know that there was an investigation by the BNI, and that if the BNI had brought their report, there would be no need for the ministerial committee to continue. What was the essence of establishing it if you did know? And you call yourself competent?
Yes.
That aside,
competent.
If you are saying that, oh, the contamination happened in January 8th, 18th, and that it was under NDC administration, my brother, we left office in 7th January 2016. You and I know. Besides that, if you are saying that that organized crime, which is the biggest so far in the history of this country, the biggest ever single contaminated oil sold at the so far in the history of this country, which happened under your presidency watch, you call yourself you are not corrupt. If that thing did happen under our watch, and you think that we organized it to cook it and we did not dispose it, if it had happened in our time, we would have corrected it. Because the law says that when it happened, the first option is to correct it. And they have a way of correcting it, which the National Petroleum Authority could have been able to do.
Let me ask you.
Then, my brother, after you gave me ample time. I wanted to ask you how many minutes you were going to give us.
No, I'm not giving you 2 minutes.
I wanted to ask you how many minutes you were going to give both of us, because I cannot sit here and be a spectator. You call both of us to come and have a program with you. So clearly speaking, if the minister, who my brother is saying that, oh, he wanted to save the taxpayers' money, commissioned this thing, they started work halfway, half a job. What is the sense of it? It would have been more prudent and value for money. There would have been value for money if the ministerial committee, this committee has gone ahead, bring their report. You compare the results of that report to the result that you have. There's value for money in that. If you want to prevent future occurrence, because there will be recommendations. The mere fact that you are bringing the chemical engineer from tech or so to come and see how those things are regulated, there is a bill, there is a law on how these things are done. And that law did not just happen. There was a consultation with stakeholders in that industry before the law was brought to Parliament in 2005 to be passed. So if now you are saying that, oh, we are now going to do stakeholder consultation to show how future no occurrence of this are going to be happening, why don't you implement the law? The law was meant to correct one of those things. So if somebody if the BOST chief executive officer went or did something contrary to the law.
Well, so far he's not been found to have done anything contrary to the law.
How can he? You're the ministerial committee. The committee that would have done that has been dissolved. And my brother, don't forget, in this
the BNI has undertaken an investigation.
In multimedia, Canada, Japan was here. And I have the tape, I can give it to you for you to play, for listeners to listen and viewers to watch, where he threatened the MP that if they dare enter into those things, he will bring down the MPP.
What did he say? Well, I don't get
I will give the tape to you for you to play if you do mind.
All right.
Okay. And how they won the 2016 election, he will bring all of those things out. It was because of that threat. Because of that threat, the minister had made a U-turn. Yeah. Say stop. Ministerial committee hereby dissolved. We don't want the Honorable Canada Japan to bring how we won the 2016 elections out.
Is that what
and he went ahead. He went ahead and said the BOST chief executive officer was a silent contributor to the MPP campaign in 2016.
He said that?
He said it. I have the tape. I will give it to Roland to play.
I'm not lying. You can send it to me through my WhatsApp.
Very quick one.
So if that happened,
please wrap up for me.
We were watching to see if the Minister for Energy will be bold enough to allow the ministerial committee investigating this BOST scandal to continue. All of them, like Canada Japan told them, even insulting them here, telling them that they didn't know how the party came. He collected money from the man and gave it to them.
Who said?
Honorable Canada Japan. I'm not lying. I have I will give it to you. You will play it here for viewers to watch. If like he dared the MPP that if they are man. Roland, I know you're also a man. If you are a man, I will give it to you for you to play it for our viewers to watch and judge for themselves. You see, you can't steal and come and sit here and defend yourself, and you can't allege stealing on somebody and come and sit here. But from the horse's own mouth, Canada Japan said the MPP, those who are doing those things, didn't know how the MPP came to power.
Wrap up.
And that
today you've
he collected money, millions of dollars.
It's okay.
From this chief executive officer of BOST. So if you sponsor MPP campaign, do you have to come and take our oil to go and sell, to go and pay that? Roland, this is the beginning. They have 4-year period to go. And if we keep quiet, that we don't want to speak on some of those things, Roland, with the next 3.5 years coming, you will hear greater scandal than this. This was an organized one. Organized crime, perpetrated or orchestrated just to offset the campaign money that the BOST chief executive brought. And we have no doubt.
That's an allegation.
We are going to continue.
That's an allegation.
I'll give that
very unsubstantiated.
And I'll give it to you. Roland, you have to play it for our viewers to watch.
No, an allegation.
And my brother is aware of that.
No, unsubstantiated.
But
please wrap up for me on this. So that we move on to the subject of the vice president speaking on the issue of the facilities that have been contracted from the Chinese government, because I hear we have some Roland, great memorandum of understanding.
Whatever Honorable Ahmed would say, he can choose to say whatever you want.
You think he's doing politics?
Yes. Ghanaians are very, very smart.
Please, you can't do that.
Yes.
You are banned from doing this thing.
Ghanaians are very smart. They can do whatever they want. If they think this is a big let me finish. If he thinks, or the NDC thinks that this is a big issue that even the ministerial committee will not be able to do anything, they can take it to court. And let me tell you, you are asking me what is corruption? What is mismanagement? I'll just give you 2 examples just to conclude. You call mismanagement and corruption. Mismanagement is a situation where you go and you set up factory in Commander without even looking at the source of raw materials.
That's mismanagement.
Yeah, why not?
But that's not corruption.
Corruption is when you go and pay to one bus for 31 million Ghana, 31,000 Ghana cedis. What are you talking about? There are zillions we can give you. So you have to keep quiet. We know you. You know what NDC is capable of doing. We know how back you have taken Ghana. Everywhere you go, you've messed the place up. Everywhere. So we are here to solve problems and move forward. They want to distract us. We know that. And we are going to face them in 2 equal, what do you call it? We're going to adopt 2 modes. They want to keep us in the campaign mode. We will stay there with them. But still, we'll push forward and develop country because we have a mandate. We know we have made promises and we're in a hurry to get them done. All these distractions, we understand. But our prayer is that NDC will continue to be where they are. They've not learned any lessons from those tsunami that got them on 7th December 2016. And that they stay in a position for a long time so that we have the opportunity to run the country. People said NDC knows how to win election. Well, that's something we can debate about. But we know how to govern. Now we know how to win election. Vigilance. We are going to actually manage this country to the point that when you're Ghanaian and you're walking on the street, you feel very, very proud, as like it happened under President Gov't era. So you have to understand, NDC will continue to be where they are, and they have to be there.
The vice president has been well. We'll move on to the next subject of the facilities from China. The vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has hit back at critics who say government is unfairly using the country's natural resources to contract a $15 billion facility from the Chinese government. According to him, the MOU signed between the government of Ghana and the Chinese government is just a joint venture, not a loan. The government has come under extreme pressure from the minority and some civil society organizations, minority with members like Ahmed Ibrahim here, over government decision to leverage on the country's bauxite deposits in Etiwa and other areas to contract money for joint venture purposes for many finance people and re-engineering students. That's a great initiative to make sure you raise enough funding, etc. But the minority doesn't seem to think that, Mr. Daniel Ochemabwai.
Well, this issue just tells you how much the minority don't understand things or intentionally want to distract the government from pursuing that which is good. Opposition means one of the things they have to do is to oppose. But for the opposition to say this joint venture money that we are expecting from China to help develop Ghana is a loan, I don't agree with them unless they don't understand. Joint venture is it's a partnership, it's a business. Bring whatever you have, I bring my contribution. Mine could be equity or resources, just could be cash. We combine it for a period of time. We do a business, we do an undertaking, and then we are able to make profit. And then we probably will pay you back, or everybody gets a portion of the profit and move on. Now, let me say this. What is even wrong if it is a loan? Anybody who really knows finance 101, knows that loan in itself is not bad.
Then what is bad about loans?
What is bad about loan is how you use it. If you go and borrow money and use it to go and raise guinea fowl, and you come and tell the country that they've gone to Burkina Faso, that is evil, that is bad. Bad use of money. If you go and raise loan, borrow, and you come and paint one bus for 31,000 Ghana cedis, that is bad. If you go and raise loan and you come and build a massive airport, international airport, just by putting lights on the streets and call it 28 million over dollars, that's bad loan, inflated prices. But loan in itself is very, very good, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just they always misinterpret us. That is why Dr. Bawumia, during the campaign, he was asking, where is the money? The money that you have borrowed so much, historic levels of borrowing. Where is the money? He wasn't saying that borrowing per itself was bad. He was asking about if you have borrowed money. We should see, we should feel it on the streets. We should see what you are doing with the money. Not to come and borrow or go and borrow money and be using the money to chew chinchinka. That is bad. So even if they don't understand, even if they don't understand joint venture, and they want to misinterpret it as loan, then I'm telling you, as long as it is put in productive use, as long as it is going to produce income, generate income, invested properly, it is not going to be a bad loan, unlike what they did. And then they are talking about leveraging the national assets, bauxite, and all those things. Do you know how to make money? You can build a house, live in the house by yourself, $1.5 million house, live in it, and you are poor. Instead of being smart enough to leverage the equity in your home, to have it pay for your development, your progress, and everything. If you cannot understand this 101 basic finance, then you will go crying. Cry because I know, and I know for sure, that most of our friends in NDC are not experienced enough, so probably they don't know these things, these dynamics. For many of them, they are very inexperienced, right? For that reason, this simple borrowing and leveraging of the national resources to secure loan, why should Ghana be poor? 60 years on. Why should we have people sleeping under bridges? Go and see what happened in Bantima constituency, Adwato. It rained for 2 days and people's homes collapsed. bad sewage. Why? 60 years on. So they can choose to continue to display their ignorance, some of them. But I'm telling you, we will do that, which is going to leverage the national asset for the betterment of Ghana.
Very interesting point, as it is. And your point on those. And I know that there was a whole press conference that was put together by the minority. You did a press conference on this?
Well, I'm very sad, both at you and at my brother. And I'm very surprised.
Well, I want to be sad.
We are speaking to discerning Ghanaians.
Why not?
And therefore, certain words must not be used on this your platform because it's a highly respected platform.
For instance?
You cannot refer to us as ignorant and that basic
as is song.
101. No, you cannot use it. Can you use that one in Parliament?
Well,
you know it's against our laws in Parliament. You know.
No.
When you come here, just as you respect. No. Just as you
ignorance
see,
in the context
if
of
I'm to
what
go
is
that same tangent, Roland, your program will be more. You know that.
Honorable.
Okay. Therefore, the best way, Roland, to prevent me from going the same tangent my brother went was to withdraw, to make him to withdraw.
Roland,
but because you did it, if I go that, Roland, don't.
I'll do that for you.
Roland,
no, I'll do that for you. If you feel like
if Parliament, you know what is accepted. Then you should know the need for using man time to always be giving phrases. If you do that, say you withdraw, then we go ahead. But to give man time for him to be explaining, I won't do that.
If you feel offended by that word,
not offended. If you don't know what I was raised in a very decent way. No. And I know what it. I'm telling you.
You know there's
and I know that if you say if I feel offended, I represent the entire NDC.
There's no way.
I represent the entire NDC. On this your platform.
There's no way.
Therefore, Roland, certain words, I will not sit here for you to insult some NDC and leave some. And you say that I'm insulting some, not all. Then I will take it as
for the sake of our audience, and if you take offense, I withdraw. But let me tell you
precisely. If you withdraw, don't use my time. Precisely.
Roland,
to be honest with you, why is borrowing becoming a word that both NDC and MPP are now discussing? Because of what you said against borrowing when you were in opposition.
No, you didn't understand it.
You come to power within 100 days. You borrowed 2.25 billion. We asked you, how did you use it? Utilization. You couldn't account. You are saying if you borrow to go and chew Chichinga, fine. When did somebody borrow to go and chew Chichinga? No government. And let it never be said anywhere. If you borrow to pay salaries, you borrowed and paid salaries. If it may be, because you couldn't explain to us the utilization of your 2.25 billion, you use one to chew Chichinga. Who will know? Unless you are able to justify. You can say this if you're able to justify how you utilize your biggest ever in sub-Saharan Africa scandal. 2.25 Parliament House of Documents. You come and stand before us. You say, oh, some are privileged and confidential and cannot be given it to even Parliament. And if Parliament cannot even have access to terms and conditions of money borrowed, then who else in this country? That one aside. Within this 6 months period, how much debt have you increased, have you added to the national debt stock?
Tell us.
You know, you said 122 and therefore Ghana was debt distress. Within 100 days, you inflated it to 127. You added 5. And Ghana is not debt distress. What, in absolute terms, can you point to show me that this is the increment in the debt? This is what we use it for. Okay. We ask of this.
I can show you.
We ask of this. What documents attest to this? We ask of this. UK. You say, oh.
We're talking about the Chinese loan.
I'll come to that. I'm coming there. Then you gave me ample time, and I know I have absolutely not less than 10 minutes to speak on this because I was watching. Then you come to power. You did all those things. Then always you have the guts to come and say that, so if you borrow to this, what did you borrow to do? You couldn't tell us. Then we come to these specific ones. You came, before you came to power, so Ghana, we have everything. We have the bauxite, we have the gold, we have the cocoa, we have the diamond, we have the money. The money is here. And to repeat what my brother said, so Dr. Baumia said, where is the money?
Where is the money?
That was before the campaign time. Now he's in charge. He should tell Ghanaians where the money is. Within 100 days, he went to borrow. He wanted to go for 2.
But that's where the money is. The natural resources that we need to leverage.
He wanted to go for 2.
He's leveraging to bring it out.
He went for 2.25 billion. It's a domestic bond. He was ready to go for $2.5 billion Euro bond. Because of the hula baloo about the 2.5 billion, then he left that one. Well, then ran to China. If you tell Ghanaians the money is here, Roland, you realize that within 6 months, the money is not here, then you are running to China. No. Going to China to bring $15 billion, and you say we should clap for you?
To bring the money that is here.
We should clap for you? Roland, you see,
to bring the money that's here.
We in minority.
No, the money
we in minority. You started the same thing, and that led to the proliferation of galamsey in everywhere. It was this same Chinese that you brought. No. Now, you say that it is not gold. You sack everybody from gold. You are going to bring this same Chinese to come and mine diamond.
What is wrong with
then
that?
Later, when there's diamond galamsey, you turn around to be accusing the NDC that NDC did this. Well, my brother, what is the local content policy? In sacking Ghanaians from money and going to bring Chinese to come and do the money. No, what justify? Reconcile these two.
Let me show you.
You sack Ghanaians from money, then you go to China and bring Chinese to come and do money. Reconcile it.
Let me tell you this. You are
just reconcile it.
Let me tell you.
That's why I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay.
You sack all the Ghanaians from money by saying that they are doing galamsey. Then you take your portfolio, you go to China. You come and do it. Then you come and tell me that, oh, Ghanaians are lazy, they do history and humanities in the universities, that's why there are no jobs.
Let me tell you, with all due respect to you.
I'm asking you rhetorical questions. When you have your time, you say them. You write them down. Not that I will stop. You are not moderator, but the moderator is Roland. So if you said all those kind of things, that you were coming to make sure that money is regulated and do kind of those things, you come. And you didn't tell us that you were going to bring Chinese. Now you brought the Chinese. There's already a mining company in Ghana.
The one you sold to yourself?
There is already a mining company in Ghana. We didn't go and take loan to come and do that. That is a private sector driven. That one, you've seen everything wrong with that. You take your bag, it's the same Chinese that you are bringing. So what has changed? What different thing have you done? Then you said that you are bringing 19 billion. It hasn't come yet too. And we will not criticize it as either a bad loan or a good loan. It is up to you to tell us, this is the money I'm bringing. This is what I'm coming to use it for. So if you bring your money and you are telling us, you have 3.5 years more to go.
And this is the vice president. He says it is a win-win situation.
Yes.
He said many analysts were ignorant of the government's new arrangement with the Chinese government. And again, saying because as a country we have been used to the old model of borrowing from China, many analysts have not understood this new paradigm. So this is a new paradigm of making sure that we leverage on what we have by way of our resources to bring in investments that would also propel development in our country.
Those things were there already. You remember what the former finance minister called smart borrowing? You remember? Where the Ghana gas money was borrowed and used it to do the Ghana gas, and it was to pay for itself. You remember? The Eni and all those things, the Turkish money and all those. Remember, Roland, you remember? These are things that were there. What new thing are you adding? Tell us.
Okay.
These are things that were there. This is what Setekwa used to call smart borrowing. That companies should borrow on their own balance sheet.
Okay.
And that should not be added to the government. This is how government is doing. So if you are an electricity company, you borrow on your own balance sheet. You operate, you go and pay, you use your profit to go and offset the borrowing. That is what Setekwa called it smart borrowing. He did it for ECG, he did it for Ghana Gas, he did it for so many companies, you know. Okay. So nothing new is being introduced. What is being introduced is a rebranded galamsey. That's how I will call it.
Let me say this. I think Honorable Ahmed, I think he has some difficulties understanding
he's ignorant.
Not ignorant. Okay. I mean, if he takes that to be offensive, but I think he has some difficulties understanding what is happening here with the China people. And then he's asking, you want to borrow 2.25 whatever local bond. That is in the budget. Go and read page 41 to about page 45. You will see that the Minister of Finance has told us in writing in the budget statement that our revenue is less than our projected expenses, and that the 6-point-something billion that is there is going to be financed both from local and what external sources. So if you itemize the expenses and see the revenue, you see that we need to bridge the gap. You are sitting here asking him what he's going to use the money for. Go and look at the budget. It's right there. It's basic accounting, basic economics. The items of expenses are all there. That shows that the revenue is going to be less than the expenses. Therefore, if you want to finance all the government projects and programs, you need to show up. And he said it in the narratives, I think page 43 specifically, that this is going to be borrowed money. And because this country is so attractive that everybody is coming, that the 3 billion that you guys were looking for
that you didn't get
from China, you didn't even get. When we went, they said we stopped it because of something that the previous government was doing. But we believe you guys, so we're going to release that 2 billion left. The point I'm making is that if you don't understand where the numbers are, go into the budget, you see it. You are talking about, Dr. Bawumia said during the campaign that the money is in Ghana. Yes, obviously the money is in Ghana. It's in the bauxites. We are doing joint venture to leverage and move those money and develop Ghana. The good thing is that, you know, they can talk however much they want to talk. No problems. When they start feeling the impact of our programs and projects and policies, they'll keep quiet.
You think the criticism has started too early? Because they haven't started seeing this.
It took Ghana, it took NDC 8 years to put Ghana in the mess that we find ourselves. And you expect us to fix it in what, 6 months? That would not be rational. That will not be an easy ask. Okay. It took 8 years to take 9.1 GDP growth.
Point made.
Right? And bring it to 3.6.
I see today you are heated up. It's okay.
No. So he needs to understand. Okay. When we say the money is here, yes, the money is here.
And that's what the vice president.
Even from private sector and from even, countrywide. That is why even go to America, I'm telling you. People come back because they see opportunities and money here. If you don't have the eyes, you won't see it. If you don't have the knowledge, you won't see it. If you're not vision-minded, you will not see it. And that's what the vice president is talking about. We are only leveraging. We are trying to get and develop this country. And I know when the programs and the policies are beginning to actually yield effects in a year or a year and a half time, they are going to sit somewhere. They'll be quiet. In the secrets, when we go and drink coffee, we'll talk about what we are doing good. But when we come here, of course, we have to take our stance.
but anyway, we have to end the discussions. But I wanted us to speak 1 minute on the subject of 1 minute each, of 3% VAT flat rate, apparently not resulting in price increases, according to a Deputy Minister, Kuku Kwating. And I start with you. You're the finance person. So I don't know whether you're aware that we've introduced a new
I am
flat
aware.
VAT rate.
Yeah,
it's 3%.
And people are saying that the Association of Food, whatever it is, manufacturers or whatever, saying that it's going to increase prices. Prices have started increasing, and that is going to even increase by 9%. When I read that article, I figured that they are looking at it from just only one angle. Nobody likes taxes. Nobody. No businessman. Uncle Sam, as the US people will call it, the government will tax you. But the government has an obligation to develop the country. How is it going to do that? And this particular one is being picked up and analyzed in the context of the 3%. But we know, even from this visit that the vice president went to China, we know that AGI is getting about what? Is it 3 billion? At a very concessionary interest rate. So if you pick just this 3% and begin to make an allegation and say, by one scenario or two, prices are going to increase, cost of production is going to increase, it's going to create unemployment, or those things. You are only looking at just one aspect of what is possible, or what the government policies are possible. Even the mere fact, remember, I'm an entrepreneur also, the mere fact that this government has been able to stabilize the power, save us money. The mere fact that the government has been able to stabilize the dollar gives us opportunity to plan. All right? The mere fact that the government has gone to leverage money to come from somewhere, China, gives us opportunity to have a lot of people. So when people have disposable income, and when the economy is doing well, what is taxes? Go to the US and see. 40%.
Okay, we have to wrap up on
but you
this.
Feel
Please,
it.
A minute for
Roland, basic economics, the Minister for Finance was invited to come and explain. He couldn't explain to us. And even if you ask my brother,
I can explain.
You brought me a budget that I'm going to raise this
3% VAT.
No, I'll come there. But he raised, you have to give me the time to react to that.
I don't have the time.
Yeah,
unfortunately, 3% VAT.
He couldn't explain. My brother here doesn't know even what the money was used for.
Okay, thank you very much.
On the VAT, Roland, we were in Parliament, UK. Oh, I've abolished this, abolished that, abolished that. Then we sat down watching. We told you that, look, my brother, Finance Minister, this thing you are doing is going to put you into a very serious problem. Ask my brother, what was your actuals in the first quarter? They intended to raise, what they intended to raise in the first quarter, they were able to raise only 54% of their expected projected revenue in the first quarter. If that one happened, then the VAT, 3% VAT that you say you've received for 17.5, and that you are going to take it to 3% on turnover. That one, you said that. Then we told you that, my brother, these things you are doing, you are going to run into problem. Then the Minister for the Ghana Revenue Authority went ahead and suspended the tax that the Minister for Finance has brought to Parliament on behalf of the President, and which was accepted and approved by Parliament. The minority saw it in the newspapers. Then we called him, the Minister, you have no locus or you have no right to do what you are doing. And therefore, we went to the Speaker of Parliament and said, Mr. Speaker, we want the Finance Minister, he refused. And now look at what he has done. Then the Speaker was even amazed that we cannot allow Parliament, excuse me to say, to be reduced to a rubber stamp. What Parliament does, when Parliament enacts a law, we are the only institution with that constitution.
So you're saying that this 3%,
we did that.
This 3% then is being implemented without locus?
I'm not. I said that is what they said they were going to do, but they came and realized that there were confusion in the calculation.
Did they suspend it?
So they suspended it.
Are you sure?
My brother, they suspended it.
It's being implemented.
We brought the minister to Parliament to come and explain.
I think we need to get clarity on this.
I'm telling you.
Ahmed Ibrahim is a member of Parliament for Bandaba. He's also a deputy minority chief whip. And also Daniel Ochimabwaji is a member of Parliament for Bantama constituency. And we've had great discussions this morning, China loan, CBD loan, and all that.